Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you all my final thoughts on the Remet Knives RT Seahorse. Now I want to start off with saying that this was provided for me for free to the channel for the purpose of just experiencing the design. Now I have handled a good bit of really early stuff from Remet. Not so much some other newer high-end stuff that they've been coming out with, just because money's been going elsewhere, but I have handled a good bit of other stuff, mainly in their budget territory. So I have a pretty good idea of what they're capable of, and honestly, they're moving up in the hobby really quickly, and I'm definitely rooting for them for sure. Also, I want to say that this could be purchased and is available. There are 3 different colorways on Amazon, and I will be linking it down below for anybody who is interested. It's not a link to support the channel. It's just a link directly to the Remet shop, I guess, on Amazon. This guy costs $31.63, but during the recording of this video, there is a 40% coupon, which by the time it's in your cart, and depending on taxes, it could be had for just a little over 20 bucks. So I want to go through and show you all that you get for essentially a $21, maybe $22 knife. So that's pretty freaking cheap. This is probably the second to maybe the third cheapest knife I've ever shown off. And again, still being produced by Remet. So you get things like really good heat treatment procedure. This is in D2, and while it is uncoated, they do have one coated variation with OD Green G10 scales. They have a little bit of texturing. This is the natural JG10 or raw G10, however you would like to call it. And then just all silver liners, hardware, clip, and blade. You have a satin sheep's footy blade that is definitely on the more robust side, not super thick, and not much of a dainty tip, but it does get down relatively thin, and it's honestly pretty good behind the edge. I have yet to sharpen this because I've just been stropping it a bunch, and honestly, this hasn't seen a whole lot of pocket time, just because it's not really a design that speaks to me in particular, mainly because of the preferred opening method, which is going to be the little downward facing ramped flipper tab there at the back. Now there is a blade hole there, and I'm definitely not the biggest fan of the way that this was designed. Now, again, you know, $20, $21, right? That's about as cheap as you can get it. And there are some other little things that you could do to get it even cheaper. I believe they have a little promotion where if you were to buy 2 of them, you get an added like 4% off. So, I mean, it could be like a just barely sub $20 knife. So if you just want a small, compact, little beater knife that you can just chuck around, that you know has good blade material for the price, again, for the price, that's actually heat treated very well for what it is, this is right up your alley. There are a couple things here that are nice. Like I said, already talking about the blade material, you do get a ceramic detent ball. You get ceramic caged, I believe they are the bronze caged bearings, so that's cool. It's actually pretty nice on the action. Any sort of wiggle, no detent lash, which is very nice. When the blade is deployed side to side, you can crank down on the pivot, but you kind of ruin the action a little bit. So if you really pull on it, I could feel a little bit of side to side there, unfortunately. And I did actually have to detune the actual liner, because it was just way too strong, and it just seemed to be a little bit too strong for the overall size of the knife. Now, I wanted to be able to use that blade hole. It is definitely possible, but it's not really comfortable. and mainly because there's all this material just kind of in the way of the hole. As you can see when it's closed up, yeah, it just kind of gets in the way. When you go to actually deploy it with your thumb, if you don't go out that way and you just shoot straight up, you will smack your thumb against this corner of G10 and steel, and it does not feel good at all. So this is a huge design flaw. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I suppose that's really just to preference. If you're cool with just using this as, just with the flipper tab, and you don't really use the hole and you just kind of ignore it and just take it as a design aspect, there's that. You're not going to be able to choke up on this. It's really just going to be back underneath that flipper right there. And it is a comfortable overall size. Again, it's compact, a little tall in hand. It's not super thick, but it feels pretty normal actually. But when I was mentioning about having to lighten up on the D10 there, if I really pull on it, I could feel the tiniest bit of up and down. So these aren't typically things that I've experienced with other Remet knives in their budget tier. I've experienced the D2 steel linered Rhino. I have the first edition of the button lock Rhino. Those are incredible knives. The WD-107, the premium one and the budget one. Those are excellent knives. I also had what was called the Steed, the premium Steed, and a little, I forget what it was called. I don't think it actually had a name, but it was a little like leaf shaped kind of lightweight model that they had. It was really cheap, really inexpensive, and it was a good knife. It had little studs on it instead of hole, but it also had a flipper tab, and if you tune it the right way, both deployment methods were very comfortable on that. But I believe it had different blade materials, like 9CR 18 MOV. So I mean, again, for the price tier that we're in, those blade materials are absolutely acceptable. D2 and 9CR 18 MOV, it's perfectly fine. I have nothing negative to say about that realistically. Now, as I mentioned in the unboxing of this guy, this shares a lot of design similarities to a very popular knife, the Urban EDC Supply F5.5. Now, I'm mainly referencing the blade shape for the most part. I know the F5.5 is a little bit taller, a whole hell of a lot thicker, and it has, I think the tip is a little bit lower on that as well, but still you get the same amount of incredible utility as this blade really lends itself to, so that's really nice. Also, the majority of the handle is essentially an F5.5 with maybe just a little bit of curve, especially how they do their backspacer here. This is damn near copy and paste. So there are some negatives to that. I'm not the biggest fan of stolen design, but shared design is one thing. It's kind of like a percentage, the way I see it. If they're doing a direct copy and making what would be then known as a clone, you guys wouldn't be seeing it, because I don't think it'd be worth my time to be taking out of my day with my other hobbies and things like that to talk about a clone, and it wouldn't be worth your guys' time to be looking at a super budget clone, because I just don't like the idea of that. But there is, I will say, a large percentage of shared design here. Of course, you're going to have the major differences like price. This thing is a $20 knife versus a $200 something knife. I think with the F5.5, at least some variations are definitely well over 150 bucks, right? You have a flipper tab here. The blade shape is completely different. The tip is a little bit higher on this, a little bit thinner stock, different blade material, of course. The positioning of the pocket clip is completely different. It's further back over here, and you would think that it kind of sticking off right there, that would kind of, you'd feel that in the hand, but not really, at least not for me. When I'm choked back here, I have large to extra large size hands, but slim fingers, so I'm able to get into this relatively comfortable, but my pinky is kind of sitting on this corner spot, which that piece of the pocket clip would technically dig into if it was sharp, but it's actually a very well-rounded and polished pocket clip. So it's a little steel bent pocket clip. It's folded over, yeah, flat T6 screws and it's inset into the scale, so I genuinely enjoy that. That is the only way a pocket clip of this caliber should be done. So that's pretty cool. T6 hardware all over, except for the pivot. You do have a free spinning pivot, so you do need 2 T8s to take apart for basic maintenance, things like that, for reassembly, of course. So there's those types of little downsides there. Really thick steel liners, but there is a good bit of weight relief as well. There's a good bit of milling inside, and these were thrown into you know, a tumbler to get polished essentially, so they are very well finished, no sharp corners or anything. It is exposed back here, but you cannot, I repeat, cannot feel that live edge, which I definitely appreciate. And the tip is down in there pretty well, so you can't even pick it out. My nails, I do need to trim my nails, but even then I can't even dig out that tip even if I wanted to. So I love it for being safe, right? And of course the lanyard hole at the back there. We're gonna do some size comparisons. We'll take the weight and just a couple more things that I wanted to go over, just talking a little bit more about the design. We're gonna start with some larger comparison size knives. This is the WE Praxis Scent Cut Glide Strike. So again, if these two guys are something that you regularly carry or know the feel in hand, again, this RT Seahorse is very compact, very short overall, and it's kind of tall in, you know, this dimension. Here we have the Civivi Vision FG, Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight, and last two are going to be slightly more compact designs, one of them being very close in overall length. This top one here is the CMB Made Knives Predator, and last but most definitely not least is essentially my dedicated gardening knife now, which I've completely fucked up the edge on this thing. This is the Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight in M4, and yeah, that M4 is not meant for gardening tasks, but it's the model that I have, so that's what I'm using it for. But yeah, as you can see, the RT Seahorse is damn near the same overall length, maybe a hair bit shorter, and of course just different blade design, so there's that. Let's get the weight real quick. This is a relatively dense feeling knife for sure, for its size in hand. 4.2, really not crazy at all, but for the dimensions, it's dense. And it's also due to all that steel there, so it was like a good bit of it. Now, talking about the overall design, to wrap things up, I have pulled out basically every knife in my current collection, which I don't have a current collection that's like massive, it's like hundreds of freaking units, but it's gotten back up after I've sold some stuff, some new things that I got in. But we're gonna talk about why I absolutely think that this has great potential, but I want to give some pointers to, I suppose, the design team if they understand the way, you know, things should be done. There are a lot of great designs out there. There was one recently, I believe it's called the Hector by CJRB, Artisan Cutlery, that company. The Hector is like a crossbar drop point style bug out looking alternative that's like super affordable, but it has this huge hump damn near in the middle of the deployment hole, and I think that's stupid. And while I haven't handled that particular model, I've heard so many negative things about it, I don't really think it's worth my time. Now, if I see that there's a variation that's like super freaking cheap and it's on NAF sale and I have the funds, sure, I'll check it out, I'll pick it up, but I'm not willing to spend full price on it. Call me a cheapo, it doesn't matter, I don't care. But I like spending my money where I think I'd get the most amount of enjoyment and use out of the overall design. I'm not super big on the brands or the designers. I just like when I can pick up a knife and just use it without any weird complications or discomfort. My hands go through a lot in my workplace. I'm constantly getting cuts from cardboard and plastic, a really dirty work environment where I'm at, and wearing gloves kind of gets in the way. So when I'm able to have a design in the pocket that is just streamlined and easy and doesn't have any weird things that kind of just get in the way, you know, that's nice. But this in particular, I don't really care for flipper tabs, and I understand that that's definitely a subjective thing. Now, the flipper tab is actually done really well. They have some very meaningful, larger jimps here. They're not super sharp, but they're not over polished, so they're not slick. I think they're good for what it is, and keeping a decent tune with the detent on there, it's still a very snappy to point knife. But I would really like to be able to use that hole just for fidget factor. A lot of people enjoy being able to fidget with their knives and deploying different methods, or just mindlessly having it and just being a couch ninja and just flipping while you're watching your favorite show. Blade holes in combination with whatever else other deployment method, whether it's swinging out with a button or a crossbar or a flipper tab or studs even. There are plenty of designs out there that have combo stud and hole. We've seen it. There are plenty of knives out there that do the same thing, but this just kind of, it almost feels like the blade doesn't belong on this handle because of how much this handle gets in the way of that hole. Now, as I demonstrated earlier, it is definitely possible, but it's not super comfortable. And every once in a while, I skip off of it, or if I shoot straight up, I will smack the shit out of my finger on this corner right there, and it's really uncomfortable. Also, getting into the reverse flick there, whether I have nails or no nail, it's really tight and extremely uncomfortable. Another little comfort issue that I have with this overall design is mainly with the liner. It's completely squared off, and while it is cut out on the show side here for accessibility, and it looks like it'd be relatively comfortable, the strength on the liner needs to be at a certain tension to not ruin the overall action, that it needs to be on the tighter side. As you can see, the lock up there, it's pretty damn near in the middle, at least that's how it looks to me. So it does have a good way of travel to finally disengage it, so you really got to dig that, push your finger down on that. And as I mentioned before, how the liners are very well rounded off and polished, it's still a square edge, and while it's not crisp, it's not super comfortable. So having a flat spot there would have been absolutely excellent. If the disengagement of this knife was comfortable, as I know Ramet can do, I wouldn't mind talking a little bit more highly about this overall design, and I wouldn't mind the whole thing. I would mention it, but I wouldn't really harp on it as much as I am here. So they failed on the deployment method with the hole, whether that's an extra method of deployment they were going with, or maybe just a blade design aesthetic that they wanted, but I doubt that. I highly doubt that they care about having different, you know, shapes in the blade. The hole looks like it was meant to be used, but the handle, it just wasn't really thought out well enough. It's just, I know it doesn't look like it's covering much, but when it's in hand, it being this compact, yeah, it gets in the way. I just want to show and share a bunch of other designs that accomplish having a blade hole very well. So here, this is an Asher Ty Spiro, and the hole, full axis on both sides. It is absolutely incredible. It is cut away here for the liner for comfort purposes. The actual liner portion that you disengage off of has little cuts in it for added traction so you don't slip off, and it feels extremely premium. Of course, different price point, I know, but it can't cost that much to just round off a little piece of metal. This is the Wharncliffe Spiro. Now, same price as the other one, just different materials that we're working with here. As you can see, cut out right there for comfort. And instead of larger cuts, they just kind of have these little like dimples there. But as you can see, the liner itself is well chamfered for comfort purposes, and it's incredible. This guy, the hole is completely exposed. This is the Microtech MSI, and of course a different locking mechanism there with a ram lock, but full exposure of the hole. This guy right here, I haven't shown this off in a little bit. This is the Cubis Bladeworks variant PE3, the premium frame lock variation. Now this has a giant bean shaped hole, a pill shaped hole, nothing obstructing the actual hole. Another one here, full access, nothing in the way. White Mountain Knives exclusive, Towser K Mini. This guy up here, the titanium titty. The hole, excellent, excellent, excellent. Damn near the same freaking shape as RTC horse, but wow, look, there's nothing in the way. It's very comfortable, and when the action and everything else is done right, it could be a wonderful combination of deployment methods. This sharing the same exact combination, a flipper and a hole deployment. So it's definitely possible. This guy over here, this is the Kanu Knives Padre. A weird shaped hole, yes, but finished in a way where it just works, right? So, and then Spyderco, it's a hole. It's actually just a punched out freaking hole. And they're kind of crisp. Yeah, they could be a little uncomfortable, but you get used to that, and damn near everybody accepts it when they own Spyderco knives. So it's not so much that, oh, well, they didn't do those things, it's the way it is because it's a $20 knife. No, I know it doesn't cost much to actually just round off a certain portion there just for comfort's sake. This was something that was just designed, had zero testing behind it for the prototypes, and was just put out into the market. There is potential here for sure, and I think that maybe Remet can do a premium variation. That'd be pretty cool, and just fix the things that they just kind of fucked up on this. So I like the idea of a compact, relatively robust overall design. I don't mind the clip in its position. It doesn't bug me that much. The percentage amount of shared design with another design of knife, that doesn't bug me so much because it has the different things like, you know, the flipper tab. So plenty of people like flippers. Flippers are not dead. They're just not for me, but I acknowledge the fact that I am in the minority of people that just straight up just hate flipper tabs. So it's a minority of people. Plenty of people still enjoy flipper tabs, and they absolutely have their place and probably always will, and that's okay. Not the biggest fan of the fact that it's a free spinning pivot, but there are plenty of premium high-end companies that still do free spinning pivots. So those are kind of acceptable. Remet is known for doing T6 for a lot of the clip and the body screws. It's annoying, yes, but they do have well hardened hardware, and it's good quality. So there's that. So if they were to just kind of tweak the design of the frame itself, the overall shape of the handle, I think for comfort purposes, this thing would just fly off the shelves. It could even possibly be one of their, I suppose, benchmark knives, because there is a good bit of potential here. I could see that just within this last year and this new year, that a lot of custom makers and new companies are making things that are a little bit more on the reverse Tanto sheep's footy utilitarian blade shape, because it's really popular. A lot of people like this kind of stuff. A lot of people like this overall compact shape and design, but there are just certain things you need to do to make a successful design. So cut this away or shorten it, so that way when you go to actually flick off, that there's nothing really obstructing the way. And then same thing with the handle. If that little bit was just trimmed off, just like right there, you'd get full access to that hole, and this would be a much better design overall. So with that being said, I will be customizing this and doing a giveaway. If this is something that you think you would like, I'm gonna do my typical acid stone wash or dark wash, however you want to call it. I'm gonna leave this tuned as it is because I think it's probably as good as it's gonna get for what it is. Again, it's a $20 knife. It's nothing super fancy. I'll be dyeing the scales, and then just doing a giveaway. It'll most likely be here on this platform, YouTube. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. I've attempted to do a giveaway in the past and it just never really worked out. I'm not too sure why. Maybe I just didn't have a certain amount of followers to interact with, really. And when I did go and pick a winner, I had left it available for the winner to contact me through the comments of the video or even on Instagram, and I left it open for a couple weeks and nobody got back to me. I redrew. I made a statement before I did it that, hey, you know, I'm going to redraw. If nobody claims it, or the person who won doesn't claim it, I redrew about 3 times. Like, the giveaway went on for like over a month and just nobody wanted it. So eventually I'm going to attempt to give away that other stuff that I had before. I just don't know when or how I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to do the same thing now that I have a little bit more people watching my content, which I'm very grateful for, of course. And I would like to be able to give back. I'm just not in the position to be giving like multi-$100 knives. This thing was provided to me for free. It's just gonna collect dust here in the garage, and I figured that somebody out there would enjoy something that's fully customized by yours truly, and they can just go and just just use this thing, because I'm not gonna use it and it's just gonna sit here. So with that being said, I do enjoy this overall design for what it is. Again, it's around a $20 knife if you take advantage of all the discounts, right? But not particularly for me. So if you enjoy this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because I have plenty more videos of content coming your guys' way. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.